Your company has grown. Maybe there's a website redesign in the works, or maybe it's just time to tighten up those staff headshots. But where do you start? I'm Scott Lawrence, a headshot and portrait photographer based here in Detroit, and I help people in organizations large and small look their best. Check out my work at scottlawrencephoto.com. Organizing a corporate headshot project is a little different than working with other photographers. Say you've worked with a wedding photographer, maybe a family portrait photographer, or maybe you've worked with some commercial photographers. Each discipline's a little bit different, and this video is designed to give you the basics and really cover the essentials of what you'll want to know, questions to ask about specifically a headshot photography project for your organization. As a headshot photographer, it's my job to help you look your best without any fancy props, crazy styling, or breathtaking scenery. And I need to be able to do this at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning after you've just dropped your kids off in a hurry and rushed to work. It's just you, me, the camera, lights, background, and probably a boring conference room. Okay, so let's get started. First, you want to define the project. And the easiest way to start is simply by asking yourself how many people need headshots and when do they need them by. Now, you may have a specific list in mind. I would always recommend, if you're looking at, say, 20 or 30 people that need headshots, if you're on the fence about a few, I would include them just in case. It's not going to affect the pricing that much. And that's handy too, as people are promoted or moved around within the organization. You'll have a headshot on file and you won't have to set up another shoot. Do each of these people need just a single image apiece, or maybe is there a subset that needs a different look, or maybe a casual and a corporate look? Think maybe your executive team or your sales team. Sometimes these groups will have a specific look based on their department or function in the organization. Where will the images be used? Will they be used specifically online, print media, social media, maybe an annual report? Do you have a background preference? White, black, gray, something in between? Do you have a fancy lobby or a specific scene within your office that you'd like to incorporate? Let me know ahead of time and we can do what we can to incorporate that preference into the shoot. If you're not sure, I always recommend going with just a simple, seamless studio backdrop. That can be as simple as a white or something gray. Those are pretty flexible. Is your organization still growing? Will you have new hires coming in over the next few months or year? That's something to keep in mind, and it can help us plan the project a little bit more effectively. I like to bring in new hires just to my studio. This is a great way to get a matching look with the rest of the organization without the need for setting up a whole shoot on your location. Do you need anything else beyond headshots? If you need maybe a few shots of the office or maybe some help with some product photography, speak up. I'm happy to accommodate those requests, and it's always easier to kind of build that into the initial scope of the project rather than setting up a separate shoot, especially if it's just a few little snapshots here and there. Group shots. Do you need one? Something to consider. Group shots done well do take some time, so make sure everybody's on board and willing to play along a little bit. To put together a good group shot, because everybody's going to have to be posed individually and it's going to take some setup time, certainly more than a couple of minutes. Another thing we can do is a composite group shot. That's where we take the individual headshots from the small group and put them together, and that's great for maybe a website banner, a brochure, something like that. You'll see that on billboards, maybe with 3 or 4 people. I see that a lot with news teams, local news team headshots, that sort of thing. That's a great way to kind of give everybody the best possible image of themselves and still show them in a group or team. Location. Where do you want the project to take place? Now, if you've got a larger number of people, it probably makes sense for me to come to your office. But if your office can't accommodate the project for whatever reason, maybe you're doing some renovations or you just don't have the meeting space or the conference room space at the time, that's fine. We can certainly look at some studio options too. Professional styling. Fancy hair and makeup is usually reserved for individual sessions, but don't rule out some light hair and makeup touch-ups in your corporate project. Even just 5 minutes a person can make a big difference. It just helps everybody calm down, relax, gives them a little more confidence. On-site proofing. Now, depending on the size of your group, on-site proofing can save a lot of time after the session. The idea basically is that everybody gets a chance to see and select their proofs right after we photograph them. So you're jumping literally from the camera to the computer screen and making the decision. This saves a lot of time on the back end, so you're not left trying to hunt down everybody to make the decision, or worse, having to make a decision for them only to find out that they changed their mind or they want a different image. Yeah, happens a lot. Who owns the images? Now, in the United States, photographer typically owns the images, and then we license them back to you as the client to do with whatever you need to do. In my agreements, they're pretty broad and pretty generous. You're essentially allowed to use your headshots wherever you need to use them without any restriction, but I still technically own the copyright to those images. There are cases where organizations want to retain the full ownership of their images, and that's fine. We can certainly do that, but do expect to pay a little bit more for those rights. Payment terms can vary depending on who you work with. Don't be surprised to see a 50% deposit requirement to reserve a date. And then the balance is typically due right around the date of the session. Model releases are typically incorporated into the agreements. Again, I'm not an attorney, so you do want to consult your own attorney and read your specific agreement. If you have specific questions or concerns, definitely let us know up front. But again, if you're really concerned about the images being used elsewhere, I would recommend doing a work for hire agreement, and that's where you essentially purchase the complete ownership of the images. Okay, so the session's complete, the images are in the computer, now what? First thing you're probably thinking is, when do I get my images, right? Turnaround time for larger groups, definitely expect a couple of days to get the proofs out, unless you did the on-site proofing, in which case the proofs are all selected and ready to go, and I'll just start the retouching. Choosing your images. So if you've got a proof sheet or a proof gallery with everyone, I always recommend just picking the expression. Just worry about the expression. Everything else is usually retouchable. The expression is the one thing you really can't manufacture. Also, when we send the proofs, we're only sending you the best possible options. So we're not holding out on you, trust me. Now, I did a whole video on what to expect from retouching in a headshot, but for purposes of this video, just think about retouching as giving you the best night's sleep that you've had in years. We'll typically reduce the under eye lines, any necklines, brighten eyes, whiten teeth a little bit. Just kind of gives you a nice polish or a nice finish. And of course, any of the shine will be reduced with a little bit of skin smoothing. If you or one of your colleagues have a specific retouching concern, definitely speak up, and we'll be happy to let you know what's possible within your budget or time constraint. Delivery options. There's a whole range of ways to send over the images. Electronic delivery is typically preferred these days. I use several different ways to deliver my images to corporate clients. Dropbox, I use some proofing galleries. Let me know if you have a specific preference, and we can find the best solution for you. Also, in the delivery process, if you have a specific size or resolution parameters, let me know up front, and I can size the images specifically to that parameter, and then you'll be ready to go and you won't have to do any additional work. Don't forget to back up the images. I will keep copies for a while, most photographers do, but you always want to have a reserved, clean backup of the images on your own network, just in case. You never know. So now that you've got the images, what are you going to do with them? You know, I'm sure you probably are thinking new websites, brochures. Posting the images on social media is a great way to introduce your audience to the staff, whether it's a board of directors or sales staff, you know, any number of contexts. But, you know, people like to see who they're going to be working with. And don't discount any outtakes that we may have shot either. These work really well on social media, sometimes even on websites too, where you can do kind of a personality shot and then more of a static image. Any audience is going to appreciate the authenticity that an outtake brings, so don't write those off right away. So you're all set for now, but how do you know when it's time for an update? I think in a corporate project, it's fair to say that these should be good for a year or two, but if anybody undergoes a significant physical change or hairstyle change, it's not a bad idea to think about doing a quick update. I always defer back to my coffee shop test. If you sit down to meet somebody in a coffee shop that you've never met before, and they've only seen your photograph, can they recognize you? If they can't, it's time for an update. It's really that simple. Other reasons for an update on a corporate basis might be a rebrand, Maybe an organization has been acquired or sold, maybe a website template change, something like that, where there's some new parameters that may require a different look. Or maybe your company culture has changed and maybe you're more business casual now and before you were in suits and ties. So you've invested a lot of time and money into getting these images up and on the website and out into the world for use. Don't forget about keeping everybody updated. So as new hires come in, definitely give me a call and we can get your new hires in. I even do online scheduling for the new hires. You simply send a new hire as part of their welcome kit. You can send them a link to my schedule. They can book their session online. This is a key step in maintaining consistency. You see a lot of websites these days where it's pretty obvious to spot who was the last person hired. That's usually the one with the snapshot against the wall with the lousy lighting. Let's try not to do that. That's it. You're now much better prepared to start planning a corporate headshot project. I think I covered most of the basic questions, but if there's something I missed, definitely let me know in the comments or send me an email. Keep watching for more headshot tips and tricks, and don't forget to grab my session guide with a link below.